getting some closure with Mcamaro this chapter, I didn't expect that at all. That was something that I figured, like, if we were gonna see anything like in resolution to what's going on with him, you know, obviously like he's dead and he's just got these machines programmed with some information about himself and his plan moving forward, but I didn't think we were gonna get much like just kind of like stuff with this team until afterwards. But I think it makes sense based off of what we find out this chapter, and you know, why is Todo here but where's the rest of the team. I thought that was actually really nice. I thought that was a really good way to kind of like just move things along as they are right now and set up stuff for the future, because now his team has reason to get stronger and reason to kind of, you know, build off of them, build off of their kind of like set emotionally, to where it's not just them getting more powerful. They all have their own personal reasons to, that doesn't even have to do with the overall arc, but really just has to do with, you know, events of one character within it. But the girl Miwa, who we know that's the one that Mcamaro had a thing for, and I really like the explanation as well of just why they're not there, is that he used his, you know, used his intelligence, used all his espionage and spy stuff to pretty much like set it up for them to, like, his main group, except for Todo and Nahida, the one that's with Todo, that is a healer, to be on a mission way far away south from Shibuya. It's like, you know, there'd be a 99% chance that Todo would survive. Same goes for Nita, because of Nita's abilities, and obviously being with Todo, because Todo is somebody who has a very high level of potential, and we've seen him put along the lines of people like Yuta, and obviously that's a really big deal, anybody who's read Volume 0, as well as Satoru is, like, you know, hinted that people like Yuta and Todo will, like, not even have, they'll have to eventually invent something higher than special grade in order to kind of like classify them. There'll be other people along level with Satoru, because Satoru really does need a tier above him to be like need a tier above special grade to put him. Same thing with Sukuna, because we've seen special grades, like we've seen like where they're at for the most part when we see stuff like Jogo and Hanami and Dagon, and like you see like, oh well, what's the difference between one of them who is just very powerful but doesn't have experience, and then one of them has both. But then when we see people like Satoru and Sukuna, and you're like, these guys need their own category. They're able to completely nope out special grades. So I've always like wondered why there isn't something above that, like King special grade or like top class special grade or something. Either way, I do really like the hype, like little hype bits in there for Todo, but also just seeing the resolve for Mcamaro on his team. And like you can tell the girl's like really upset because she's like, you know, am I useless? Would I not be able to do anything? And it's more of this, he didn't want any of them to die. He only sent Todo and Nita because they had a high survival rating, and obviously they're two people who are very beneficial in this arc. I mean, obviously, like we've already seen with Todo, and if fingers crossed, if Kugisaki can survive, clearly Nita was very important to bring into the arc. But for the rest of the people, like, here's the thing, when they're like talking about the rest of the cast of Mecamaru's crew, Mecamaru, like, he was actually, like, with his robots pretty powerful. Like, we saw like those giant energy attacks even back in the Tokyo versus Kyoto arc. Like, even looking at like him versus Panda, those were pretty big attacks, those giant energy beams. And then obviously we saw like him stockpiled. That was really impressive. That was like, okay, if you put him in this arc, he would be able to do some work. Like, he would definitely be able to help. But with like the main, like not even the main cast, like with the kind of setup of Mecamaru's team, they're not gonna be able to really do that much. We don't know a whole lot about Utahime and what she can do, but obviously like she's not a huge person. But like Kamo Noritoshi, he's on there kind of like a sorta, because his power seems to be way more kind of setup technique, and then his like general buff version of his blood manipulation. But the other two, the broom chick, I can't remember her name, and then I can't remember the other girl's name, but she's Maki's sister, the one that has the gun and she could make an extra bullet. like her power is good against like a person, but it's not going to do anything against it's not going to do anything against cursed spirits that are, you know, up at this level. If the main cast, like Yuji and everybody, if they were fighting characters more to their level and not all, you know, fighting above their weight class right now, I'd be like, okay, yeah, these, oh, hiccup right there, these guys can, you know, contend and do stuff and compete. But right now, the people that they're up against, like, they would die really quickly. Kamo is the only one amongst them. I'd be like, okay, this guy can probably do something. And obviously with blood manipulation, the longer the fight goes, the more bloody he is, the like bigger and better attacks he can use. The only thing that would have screwed him over if he ran into Choso, somebody who has just outright way better blood manipulation than him. But like, I can understand their frustration, but I think Mcamaro doing that for their own sake was a good thing. Like, I think that it meant a lot to him, but it also, you know, protected the members of his team from potentially dying. Because Todo is a completely different story when you compare him to them. He's just a physical powerhouse, and on top of that, his Boogie Woogie ability is really good, and how fast he can use it and how well he can use it. Because, like I mentioned in the last video, I've seen this power on a couple other characters, but he probably uses it the best, and that includes Sasuke, because Sasuke has essentially the same power, but he doesn't use it nearly as much, and the speed and like just level of spam of this ability that Todo can do is really good. Like the way that he is so fast at picking a target, swapping it, and really setting up his moves is fantastic. And I do really like that, because his power is just it's like a CC, like it's a hyper CC gap closer. Like, he can use it either to mess with his opponent, save people, set up his attacks. He's taken an ability that is super basic. It's super good in description, super basic, obviously, in application, but he's done it in such a really strong way that I can't wait to see what else Todo can do, like, when he gets further down the line. Because he's still, like I said, he's still in the high potential, like, prodigy area. He's not like Yuta. Yuta was in that, and then by the end of Volume 0, he was a monster. So, there's some nice stuff between, for Mcamaro's old team. I'm hoping that, like, I'm fully assuming that after this arc, there's going to be somewhat of a time skip. How long, I don't know. But this is a good motivation for those guys to get more powerful, because if, you know, they're probably, like, even if it wasn't his intentions for Mcamaro to make them feel weak, I think that's something they're all gonna kind of come out of this with, and they're all gonna use that as motivation to get more powerful. Because even if Mcamaro did betray the Jujutsu group in general, but he did it for his team, and he did it for a selfish reason. Like, obviously he wanted to get a body so he can be with, you know, his team, he can be with his crew, because to him it wasn't loyalty to the Jujutsu High, you know, their whole organization. His loyalty was to his main group, like his friends, and he just wanted to actually get to hang out with them for real and be around them. And so, like, his is a very complicated scenario that you can really look at both of, yeah, he betrayed, like, this group, but I mean, this loyalty wasn't to them. His, like, loyalty and affections were to, you know, to his own crew, to his own group. And he, at the same time, sort of betrayed them, but he did it in a way that he was really doing it, like, in a selfish manner, but at the same time setting it up to keep them safe and to do everything he can for them. It's a little bit of a complicated issue. Like, he's a little bit in a gray zone, and I like that a lot with Mcamaro's decision. Because it's not like a full flat-out betrayal, evil, I wanted a body so I can go see the world. It's like, no, we understand why, and you can sympathize with him of why that is. And, like, the weird thing about Jujutsu Kaisen versus a lot of series is there's no real reason to like the overall organization, like, because there just seems to be a lot of issues with it, like, of the Jujutsu Tech, because Jujutsu High, it's way more like you care about selective groups rather than the whole of it, because the whole of it, there's so many problems, and the only reason that it's even in somewhat of a good state is because
Satoru kind of has a lot of sway and a lot of weight he can throw around. And that's one of the reasons why it's important they get him before this arc's over, because like his existence really is a shift in power on so many levels within the series. But then back in the fight, like we have Todo and Yuji versus Mahito, and you see like some general information I really liked from Mahito is we got some limitations on his soul configuring. Like he says that like Yuji's at like 10% of his soul, like his soul power, and Todo is pretty much at full, like he's fully at max, and Mahito is at around 40. So he's wondering if he can get his hand on Todo, if he's got enough power to instantly one-shot kill him. Which I like that there's like, it's not like he can just touch anybody and kill him. It has to do with the soul, it has to do with you know, with the cursed energy and the power that they have. It gives it limitations, but legitimately, if somebody's at 100%, like somebody Toto's level is 100%, and 40 is still kind of within range, you might be able to one-shot kill him. Still really good. Still really good. But I think that even if that part of his power is broken, I think the best part of Mahito's ability is just how well he can, how flexible his power is, because he can literally take one of the, you know, these little tiny soul figures and make it into almost anything. Like obviously it's not like he can make a black hole, no, but I mean like if he's falling, bam, he can turn it into some form of net, bam, he can use it to do some form of large wide range attacks against his opponents. He can do explosives, he can do them for both damage, kind of like body popping, or he can do it way more to get like blood splatter so he can have like a distraction or blinding. There's a lot he can do with his power. I really like that about Mahito. I know that's why I picked this panel as well. Like when he has just a bunch of these little soul dolls, like little soul figure things, and just messes them all at once and just has this massive full frontal attack of these giant maws going to bite. I thought that was really cool. I thought that just visually was really badass, and it again highlights something I really like about Mahito's powers. But then, like, what we see in from Toto's perspective, when he's thinking about Mahito, and he's talking about like just because this cursed spirit can use Black Flash, you know, you got to get stronger, you got to help, you don't want to like leave Yuji behind, do you? You don't want to just kind of like let him feel alone and weak against you, and just he's able to hype himself up, sync himself up, and just bam, lands another Black Flash and just smashes into him. Well, I don't think he had a Black Flash for it. Was I don't think it was him. It might have been him. I'm trying to remember like the last chapter, if it was him or if it was Kukisaki who ended up dropping a Black Flash on him. I'm going back mid-chapter because I can't remember off the top of my head. I think they both did. I'm trying to remember when exactly. I don't think Todo ever did. I think that was just with Kukisaki. Just because right now it's so blank into my mind. But either way, I don't think he ever did. I think this was the first time he used Black Flash. Unless he did it against Hanami. I have to go reread some of the fights. I'm blanking on certain small events. Either way, which is perfectly fine with me. I love that fight. And Hanami fight was one of my favorites, so I can definitely go back and read that with no issue. But I really liked him getting the Black Flash off on Mahito, and then seeing him be like, you can do damage to him, but it's not going to matter for the most part unless you can do soul damage because of how Mahito's abilities work. And you can beat him just with, like, you know, destroying his body, but it takes way longer because eventually he's going to run out of cursed energy. But the chances are, unless you're way higher level than Mahito, then he's going to end up touching you and messing with your soul beforehand. So for the most part, like, Mahito's just this, he's in a dangerous spot right now, but he needs to be careful because these are people that definitely can beat him. He just needs to be a little bit more smart, and I don't really see him getting out of this in a win. Like, I really like the part when it's like how they're all bringing out 120% of their potential. They're all just pushing every single limit they can, but he's in a bad spot. Mahito is definitely at a disadvantage right now because, like, we already saw what Yuji and Todo were capable of beforehand. Todo getting the Black Flash off, which means he's going to be stronger as things go. Like, Todo is just going to keep climbing and climbing every single fight. And I honestly think, like, Yuji and them just need to keep up. But, like, Mahito, Mahito needs to figure out something. I think he's gonna have to flee, or somebody's gonna have to show up and save his ass, because I don't see him winning the fight now. Because Yuji's back on his feet. I think we might see some kind of limit break stuff from him soon. But for the most part, I don't really see Mahito really coming out on top here. So we'll see. It's definitely something we're gonna have to give it a couple more chapters, probably 2 or 3 more chapters until this fight's over. But I'm pretty hyped. Like, this arc has been going on for a while. It's definitely the longest arc in the series. Like, it's been going on for over a year now. I think it's like 40 something chapters, a little over 40 chapters, you know, that being a third of the series. Like, tons of stuff, and we're not even done yet. We still have a couple to go. We still got a handful of chapters to get through until we get to the end of the whole Shibuya incident and move on to what's next. But anyway, other than that though, comment below, thumbs up the video, but from the like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone. Start right there. I appreciate everyone who's already subscribed, and I thank y'all for listening. Bye.